Thank you. Good. Thank you, Brother Kasai. Happy Sabbath, everyone. Happy Sabbath, everyone.
Happy Sabbath.
There we go. It should be a happy response because it's a Sabbath. I hope that we all had a good Sabbath morning, Sabbath night that started last night, and I hope that we're having a good Sabbath evening or afternoon. So today we continue the conversation on boundaries or boundaries. And this is a conversation that we started 2 weeks ago, and we continue to look at what are boundaries, answering the question, what are boundaries? What are healthy relationship boundaries? And how do I set and maintain healthy boundaries? So I'm going to have a little recap of what we covered 2 weeks ago. And I know that there's some bright people here and on Zoom that will be able to, for those who were here the last time, that will be able to give me some responses to show that you are students who pay attention in class. All right? And you're going to pass your exams. All right. So we started by looking, well, what are boundaries? How do we define boundaries? Is it the game that we play, dandy shandy, rounders, and baseball and football? And tennis? Anyone? So, brother Louis said, yeah, and the cricket, right. So we know about that kind of boundary, right? And when we go over those boundaries, we usually are out of the game, right? That's the boundaries that, or you get high scores. There you go, 6 or 4. All right. So now about that kind of, and we call it boundary, right? Boundary, right? Boundary, right? Depending on where you come from, we say boundary or what? Or what else? Our bones. All right, all right. So we're going to take it a step further. So we've been looking at what are boundaries in relationships. Not just in the games that we play, but, and you know, they're even important in the games that we play because boundaries allow us to abide by the rules of the game, right? Yeah. All right, so let's bring it into our relationships. So the question is, what are boundaries in relationships? Let me ask someone on Zoom first, and then we take it to the congregation. Somebody on Zoom, what are boundaries? All right, you pass? All right, we'll pass it now to someone in the congregation. And can we get some, like a roving microphone? That would be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. What are boundaries in relationships, my young people? Anybody, somebody? Yeah, man, you're young at heart. Everybody. Okay. So Sister Greenland said limits that we set where? In relationships and within ourselves. Right. Limits that we set, rules and limits we set in relationships and more importantly in ourselves, because guess what's going to happen if I don't have healthy boundaries within myself? What happened? Yeah. And that what's going to happen is I'm going to allow anything, anything can happen to me. I will allow anybody to do anything to me. But I'm also going to violate other people's boundaries. Right? So it's both intrapersonal and it's inter. Intra is what's going on within us, the relationship we have with ourselves. You know that we have relationship with ourselves, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's how we treat ourselves. It's how we view ourselves. It's how we conduct ourselves. And we have relationships outside of ourselves. That's the inter. Like I see Brother Greenland and Sister Greenland sitting over there, shoulders to shoulder because they're wives and husbands. So it would tell me that they do have healthy relationship boundaries in terms of their relationships. All right. But if I should go over there and sit beside him like that, exactly. Exactly. Right. Exactly. All right.
You're out of bounds.
Out of bounds and out of order. That's why it's so important that we really we have these conversations, because let me tell you, we grew up, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I sat in an AY and I learned a lot of things, but I've never had a conversation about boundaries in relationships when I was growing up. Never, ever. So I didn't even know what it meant in relationships. Like I said, all I knew was the boundary in the games. So these conversations are so mightily important, and we're going to talk more about the consequences of boundary violations as we go further in our presentation. All right, so going forward, because I know I don't have a lot of time, we also looked at rigid, porous, and healthy boundaries in the last talk. Anyone remember what a rigid boundary looks like? Rigid. What does a rigid boundary in a relationship looks like? Anybody on Zoom? Anybody in the congregation? Yeah, Daniela, get a microphone. And I see your hand up. Awesome. So one of our, thank you, Sister Green, and I'm going to also allow Daniela to expound on that very quickly, because especially for young people, see there? Yeah, the microphone is right there. Especially for our younger people, they really need to understand the importance of setting boundaries within themselves and within relationships. And I'll tell you guys why later. That's coming. Yeah, go ahead, Daniela.
A rigid boundary is like somebody who is completely shut off from other people. They like don't want to accept anyone into their lives. They might be afraid that they trust too much, but the bottom line is they're shut off from the rest of the social world.
Good, that's true. Yeah. They keep others at a distance. They have very few personal relationships, and they're very detached, like just within themselves. Then there is the opposite of that, the porous boundary. What does that look like? Porous. Think of the word porous. What? Huh? Very open. Yeah. Yep. Very open. And because we're very open, go ahead, Sister Ali.
Accepting of anything.
Yeah, we accept anything. So we accept abuse and insults. And we have a difficult time saying no to others. And we overshare. Everybody know what's going on in your personal life because we're telling everybody, or it's on Facebook, in gram. What the rest of them name? Yep, it's all there, right? Very porous. But healthy boundaries, we have a good understanding of how to carry ourselves, what to share, and with whom, right? What we would share probably with our family members or with a close friend probably isn't always appropriate to share with just anybody, right? So understanding the importance of that. All right, then we looked at 5 different types of boundaries. Who remember at least 3? My very good students. In the past presentation, we looked at 5 quickly. Who remember at least 3? No, we didn't do that one. That's what I'm going to do today. Depending on others. Thank you, Sister D. So, Sister D, I think you were here the last time. I don't remember. We looked at 5. One was material. What else? Huh? Emotional? Yeah, emotional. Physical, yeah. Time. When we talk about time, and we always late. Always, sometimes, most times. And we looked at physical. So we're going to jump right into today's presentation because we have to abide by time boundary. And I must say very thanks to the adults, the Bible class attendees today, because I always notice that when it's time for AY, or, they're usually saying, are the AY ready? Where are they? And that's very nice because it shows that we're being respectful to each other's space and time, right? And just as Bible class is important, and so is AY, and just being able to respect the time allotted to each department is actually observing and honoring time boundaries. So that's very nice, adults. Good job. All right. All right. So now we are going to press on, and we're going to look today at intellectual boundary. Do you know that there was such a boundary? Man, there is such a boundary. All right. So we are going to go to scene 1. scene 1, where we are going to have a depiction of what a violation of intellectual boundary looks like, and then we will talk about it. Yeah, it refers to thoughts and ideas. Thank you so much, my AV team. Fabulous. All right, scene 1.
I feel like me can't move, you know.
Yeah, man, lunch did good.
I'm
Sister
telling
Green
you.
one?
You did taste of chicken there? Oh,
You tried the
God.
plantain. Take
Fried
about
goodie.
5.
But
Fried.
planting they never burn.
Never
on.
My plantain can't. What happened?
Isn't this Sharika?
Well,
But she's saying first day of first year.
The
What?
same Sharika not like she never in a third year or
No.
Wait. What did Paul say?
First day of first year.
first year. That
First
doesn't
year
sound
of
right.
what? Didn't last time I checked, wasn't she doing business? She not supposed to in her third year of
No,
business.
she was doing engineering. Remember,
Engineering.
yes, when we graduate, she graduated and she did engineering.
No, but she did switch and go to business after that. So
But
this
she-
is our
but
third
she
time
in, she
changing.
in, she in nurse clothes.
Well, happy fair still, but me not. I want to think about that though.
I mean, well, better you change your job than sit
Girl,
down
just
and
stop right there,
depress.
so 'cause you not make no sense. You
No,
understand?
but what if she did go do the job and then she
Kezia,
depressed
think
and then she
rationally.
go?
Think with your brain, please.
But
Switch
how can
3
you
time.
how can you
That take
say
money,
that?
You know? That is money. She never knows from when, so she want to be nurse.
But it would have take money when she got depressed
Alright,
and
fine.
chuck off and where you would have tell the girl she have to go
Alright,
in
so
something
fine.
that,
All right, she want to do nurse. She never know that from. She got to do engineering
Alright.
business.
Right, hold
What?
on, hold
3
on, hold
time?
on, hold
it's
on.
her choice. I mean,
just stop talking. Stop talking because you're not saying anything
Alright,
that
Khadija.
making any sense.
Khadija,
right now, you're getting
Khadija.
me upset.
Khadija, hold on. We're all friends here.
So you are defending her?
What I'm trying to say
Who is
is,
defending somebody who not thinking rationally?
what I'm trying to say is, you can bring your point
want to hear
across,
it.
you know, but you have to be respectful. Everybody have
I am
ideas.
being respectful
Everybody-
by
No,
giving
you're
my
not.
thoughts
No,
and
you're
saying,
not.
Casey,
You
I
know
think
you're
about
not.
You're
it.
kind of
Her
crossing the
parents
line. You're
hardly
kind
have
of being
any money.
disrespectful.
I am crossing the line.
If she wants
she
to
crossed
wait.
the line by changing schools 3 times.
Listen, whether or not it makes sense, if she wants to be a nurse, doctor, astronaut, it's fine by her. You might have feelings towards it, but still be respectful
Heavy
to it.
feelings. But feelings turn up bad.
Listen, it's not coming out of your wallet, nor your pocket, or anything. I'm just saying we can disagree, but know when you're crossing the line and being disrespectful.
All right, I guess you're talking some kind of facts. I'm sorry that I feel so strongly that I was taking it out on you, Casey. But I guess I'm going to have to try to understand your point of view and her point of view for switching courses 3 times. I mean, it's beyond me, but I will accept that. Probably I crossed the line a teeny bit by being so considerate that.
All
I don't
right,
know, okay.
let's
I'm
go to
sorry.
AY. Get some blessings for you because end of scene.
That was a perfect depiction of violation of intellectual boundary. And I'm going to ask, did you notice anything? Intellectual boundary violation refers to thoughts and ideas, and it's respecting other thoughts and ideas. Did we see a violation of that here? What did you see? What did you notice? Who did what? Huh? Who did what? Yeah, no, not yet. Turn it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she talked down to her. She kind of smothered her idea and her way of thinking as if it was something that didn't make any sense instead of listening and trying to understand somebody else's point of view.
Exactly. Talked down to her, smothered her, behaving that her opinion and thoughts and erroneous ideas is the superior, right? What's superior? And in the chat, Sister D said criticizing, yes.
I was asking, how do you handle persons who aren't really apologetic? Because if you realize she was apologizing, but not really that much apologetic.
Yeah, that's a very good question. How do we handle that? And how do we handle that even when it happens in places like Bible class and lesson study, right?
Mercy.
How do we handle that, right? Some of the best things to do, right, in those situations is to shut down the conversation right away, right? Just shut it down and you can say, well, you know what, right now, we're not hearing each other. We're not really communicating effectively. So how about we, if it's something worth talking about, how about we revisit this conversation when we're able to hear each other, right? And usually pick a time and date when you can express your, like if you felt offended by that person's behavior, what they said, pick a time and date. We talk about conflict resolution skills. Pick a time and date and let that person know, I would like to have a conversation with you and just sit and talk about it. Let the person know how their behavior made you feel. And we do that by using the I statements, okay? I statement, not you, when you did say so, you make me feel mad and bad and angry and embarrassed. Because the person is going to get defensive with the you made me feel, right? So we use the I statement. So Sister K, she was the rude one, right? Good. Sister Kadisha. So Sister Kadisha, could we talk about, even send a text or whatever, could we talk please? I would like to talk to you about something. Set a time and date. Make sure that you are not angry going in the conversation, okay? And make sure the person, set a date that works for both of you when you both are calm. If you find that you are still struggling, and pray about it. When we're going to have these conversations, really pray about it and make sure that we are in a good place. Because if we go into a conflict resolution meeting or setting and we are still feeling mad, we're going to speak from the emotion of anger and it's going to probably make things worse. Huh?
And how do you deal with someone who never believes that they're wrong?
They're wrong? All right, good. We're going to talk about that too. So you would say, like Sister Kadisha, I felt embarrassed when this or that was said, right? And now we use what we call our locus of control. In that, if after I come to you or you come to me and you're very respectful in telling me how my behavior impacted you and I am being defensive and rude and whatnot, then guess what? Still shut it down. Okay, I see that it's not a good time or place or, it's difficult to communicate. So just shut down the conversation and focus on what's in your control. I have no control over your behavior towards me, but I have control over how I respond to it and what I allow to happen to me. So that is where sometimes, even as Christians, we have to put distance in our relationship. I'm not saying we're going to keep malice, right? Not malice. But if someone is, that has no place in Christendom. But if we know that, someone has poor anger management skills and poor conflict resolution skills, then you're going to set your boundaries. It's time to set boundaries. So that means that just modify the relationship.
And just a follow-up question as well.
Uh-huh.
So how do you handle a situation where you don't want it to be a case where it's like you're malicing someone, but you want to have them at a distance? How do you differ, like, within yourself? Because dealing with that person, it's going to be, like, some form of strife or something in that sense. So you don't want to do it, but then within yourself, you're like, am I being a good Christian, or am I just avoiding going out of my way just to not really have any conversations because I know where they're gonna go?
So it's not having conversation, but it's just being mindful of the kind of conversations you're having with that person going forward, right? For example, and always pray. Let me tell you something. God is awesome in all of our relationships. He's a God of relationships, and He has a way of working things out. So if you find that there's somebody you talk to every single day, but every time that we have this conversation, it turns out into a big conflict, then just minimize how often we talk and what we say. It's not that you're creating malice, but you're being mindful of how much can I say to this person, and how much it's not safe for me to say. How much can they handle, right? So it's really just modifying relationships. Sometimes we have to modify relationships. It doesn't mean that we're keeping malice. But then if we continue to operate on the level of being extremely close and confiding when this person is being disrespectful to us, we're giving them the permission to continue to violate our boundaries, regardless of what the relationship is. Even if it's family, there comes a time when we have to set the boundaries, right?
Understood.
Yeah, I ordered something for my mom recently on Amazon, right? I'm going to say very quickly. And she's in New York. So you know how online go. It shows up probably a little late. And she called me and she was just fussing. And I know that mom, I'm telling her, just let me call Amazon and see what's going on. And she's on the phone going on. So I said to her, okay, I'll call you back. Mothers, we can be, right? We can be kind of fussy sometimes. So the next time she asked me to order something, I said, Mom, we have to have a conversation. And we had a conversation. I said, listen, if you're asking me to order something online, you have to be mindful that it can come late or it may not even arrive. That's a risk we're taking. So if it doesn't arrive, I can call Amazon and I will do the problem solving. But I don't appreciate you calling me and sending up my blood pressure over something I have no control over. And she understood. So sometimes it's just, and again, that's why the communication is so important in setting boundaries. Brother Kassan, for everybody, it's so important that we have positive communications and be proactive, like what I did with my mom. The second time she's going to ask me to order, I had the conversation first before I placed the order, right? So if we know that this relationship, it's prone to become conflicting because of a certain topic or whatever, have the conversation. Don't wait until the situation arises. Have the conversation first. Go to that person very peacefully from a very calm and godly place and set the boundaries first so that when it happens, the expectations have already been set. Right? All right. All right, so that was intellectual boundaries. And even here, when we come to Bible class or lesson study, if we're not careful, we can see a violation of intellectual boundaries because even in the church, we may have varying views on something, and we don't always see eye to eye, and that is okay. That is okay. We can agree to disagree and still be respectful. We have that right, all right? Any comments on that before we move on? Anyone on Zoom want to say anything? All right, moving on. All right, so we are going to move on to sexual boundary. This is where we left off the last time. Now, I want to say something. So the last time that we're talking about sexual boundary, the conversation kind of went into what do people do consensually in a relationship. And while that is important to talk about, the focus of this presentation is about the violation. It's about unconsented behaviors, okay? Because I see where there's so many people suffering in society and also silently because this boundary has been violated and we don't understand how to respond to these violations, how to handle them, or where to go for help. So for the purpose of this talk today, we're just looking at when something happens to somebody else, male or female, in terms of the violation of this boundary beyond your consent. And keep in mind I said male or female. We're going to get to that too because, listen, males can be sexually violated and have been sexually violated, right or wrong? Right. I know it's heavily females, but we have to pay attention to sexual boundaries among males too. And Brother Lewis, you shared with me, experiences after the talk the last time. And that is something that we have to also talk about. I might ask you to share later, okay? All right, so let's go to scene 2. Scene 2, when we're going to be looking at sexual boundary violations.
Mike?
wonder what time I'm going to get to the library today. All right. Can't wait on the bus right here. Well, some nice princess. Psst. Hello.
Is that a bird?
Hello. Hello. Black blouse.
Speaking to me?
Yes, pretty girl.
I didn't think
Give me
so.
a minute of your time now.
I didn't think so, but I don't see anyone else around.
Pete, give me a minute of your time now. Come over here.
What do you think you deserve a second of my time?
What a piece of festiness.
Do
You know
I-
what? Move from here to AliExpress.
do I
I
look-
don't want to talk to you. I was actually waiting on the bus
Do I
right
look
now.
like I'm in your caliber?
I said
You're so uncouth.
Cooking?
And
I'm not talking about any cooking. Go about your place.
you are so unkempt. Did your mother teach you to have respect for women?
Why are you bringing my mother into this now?
I think you need to
All
go
right,
and
lady, you
learn
make your
how
point.
to speak to
You make your point.
ladies.
The bus soon come.
Wow. Yep, it happens.
Yeah, so we're going to the mall later? All right, no problem. I'm actually trying to catch an Uber now. Oh, wait, I'm seeing someone. Hello, I see. Sorry, not to scare you. I see you're wearing a fade shirt right there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize I'm wearing one. Yes.
Yeah, are you from around here? Do you go to church around here?
Yeah, I actually go to church. I go to church on 441.
441?
Yeah.
I've been to 441 church, but I've never seen you before, though.
Yeah. Do you? So you go to church?
Yeah, I'm actually a Seventh-day Adventist. I go to church right.
Oh, you're
up
seven.
there
Okay, me
on
too. Okay, because I thought
Kimberly.
I thought you were
No.
coming at me a little funny.
just-
I was a little concerned for
Sorry,
a
just trying to
second
say
there.
hi.
You know. Okay. Yeah, I go to Margate. Yeah.
So you've been to Margate?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I've never seen you. Tell you what, I don't want to not see you again. So if you don't mind, would you just?
You know, I usually don't do this, but you know, you said you're an Adventist, and I think you're a little cute, so I'll give you my number a little bit, so you know.
Sure,
Just
sure.
and so you know, when you call, just remind me that you're the guy,
Yeah,
the
the
Adventist guy from the bus
the
stop,
good
and
guy,
then we can
the cute
talk.
guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
all
we'll
right.
talk. You know, you have a great rest of your
All right,
day.
catch you.
Thank you, Tiana, Kasai, brother and sister Greenland, for those depictions, those examples of sexual boundary violations. So, sexual boundaries. We're first. Sorry? Not hearing me? They did, so there was one that they did the last time too. But I'm gonna talk about these two sister Riddle. Yeah, but the last time they did do another version, but these are also important, okay? So, sexual boundaries can be violated with unwanted sexual touch, pressure to engage in sexual acts, layering. What is layering? It's looking lustfully, right? Or making sexual comments, and some of those came out in the skits. All right. This is a very solemn and important topic to talk about because it happens more often than we realize, and we don't talk about it enough. but it happens a lot. So we even see in the Bible, we have on the screen, there are so many stories in the Bible where this boundary was violated. Dinah, daughter of Leah, was violated by Shechem. Genesis 34, it says they took her, lay with her, defiled her. That's coming straight from the Bible. Joseph was violated by who? Potiphar's wife. David violated Bathsheba. David's daughter, Tamar, was raped by her half-brother, Amnon. Now, as I touch on this topic, if this triggers any emotional memories, any issues of trauma in anyone, I am a licensed mental health counselor bound by confidentiality and ethics. If you're comfortable, you can call me or text me, and I can connect you to resources within the community in terms of professional counselors. Or I can't be a counselor to anyone in this church, though, because I can't have dual relationship within the counseling relationship, okay? I'm saying the same word twice in the same sentence. Jamaicans. That's what brother Liva said this morning. Yeah. So I can't be a counselor to anyone in this church. However, we can work on connecting people with resources, or if you have insurance, you can call your insurance company and they can give you guidance on how to connect with a trauma specialist counselor.
Is it free?
If you have insurance, yeah, usually. But like where I work, Henderson, counseling is free, except there's usually a wait list. Because it's free, there's usually a wait list, okay? So that's a good question to ask. Henderson is a good resource. Chrysalis is a good resource. I wish I'd done a slide on resources, but at least just call me and say, Sister Dawn, or text me and say, Sister Dawn, send me some resources and I'll send it to you, okay? All right. And I'm bound by confidentiality. So if you reach out to me, it stays here. Because ethically, I have to be confidential in all that I do, or else you can sue me. Just putting out there, okay? No, true, yeah. I know that we don't really do that, but I'm just saying, but I can be sued, all right? So, the stories from the Bible. We're going to have our church, our youth, share stories from the Bible of people who were violated sexually, and then we look at some consequences of this, okay? Come on, my sisters. You need mic? Right, you need mics, right? Or I could clean mine. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so my story is about Lot and his daughters. I guess his daughters saw that he was getting old, and they didn't think any guy would give them babies or whatever. So they saw their dad. They gave him wine. They made him drunk. They had his seed, so they basically had their kids, and yes, they basically raped him.
Okay, so my story is about Tamar. Yeah, Tamar and her half-brother. Is it Amnon? Yeah. Okay. So Amnon fell in love with his sister. He was so obsessed with her that he became sick. Amnon told his advisor about his obsession with his sister. His advisor then said, "Go to bed and pretend to be ill. And when your father comes to see you, say to him, I will like my sister Tamar to come and give me something to eat. Let her prepare the food in my sight so I may watch her, then eat it from her hand." So Amnon did what his advisor said to do. Then David sent word to Tamar. Fast forward, Tamar served him bread, but he refused to eat. Amnon said, "Bring the food to my room and I will eat out of your hand." And Tamar did as she was told. She went to his room to serve the food, and he grabbed her and said, Come to bed with me, my sister." She said, "No, my brother, don't force me." Amnon ended up hating her with extreme hatred. He told Tamar to get out, but she refused. He got his personal servant to take her out when King David heard, he was frustrated at what Amnon did. So technically, Amnon raped his sister. Yeah.
Press the yellow light. Awesome. So, thank you so much, Kirsten and Adriana. That was very good storytelling of actual events in the Bible that we see happen over and over and over. And I noticed too that, and we're going to talk about this later too, that there's also some generational patterns sometimes in terms of this violation. And this is one reason too that we really need to talk about these events, because when we don't, they stay in our families and they go from one generation to the next to the next. And what happens is that we have a perpetuation of the offenses and a perpetuation of pain and suffering and trauma. So this is important. We are going to play a video. Thank you, ladies. You did a wonderful job with sharing those stories. Let's watch this YouTube video. Yeah, we're gonna.
Situation, growing up in the Caribbean, we were taught that these are compliments. So then my question is, what's the difference between sexual harassment and compliment from a stranger?
So we were taught, or we were cultured to believe that they're compliments. But are they really compliments? That's the thing. Are they really Why am I seeing myself on the screen like that? It scares me. Anyway, so, all right, that's better. Right. So let's talk about what we just saw and what happened also in the skits, right? So was there violation in the skits? Was there sexual boundary violation in the first skit between brother and sister Greenland? Was there? In what way?
Well, I'm confused because as a boy growing up in the islands, and that was not a game, but that was how you would approach a girl. That's how we were taught pretty much. You listen. It was the culture, and if you never caught to a girl, so you looked at as soft as exactly. So these are the things this is how we grew up. And if the girl never want to talk to you, you cuss her out just like our brother Greenland cuss her out. And boy, that girl go sit on stuff like that. That's how we were. That's the culture we grew up in. So, that's what we knew.
You're right. That's what we knew. But what we grew up in or we were cultured in doesn't mean that it's right. Because let me ask the ladies. Dania, can you share very quickly for me? I know you're on camera. Get off quickly. And I want my young people to share because this is about you all, okay? Dania, I wanted to share something that happened to you because Brother Louis, we're going to see how that translates. All right? She's 12 years old, so keep that in mind. Go ahead, Dania. Talk about what happened when you were coming home from school recently. Take off the mask. Everyone can hear you, please.
So one day I was at school, and I walked to the gas station that was near our school to wait for my mom to pick me up. And this guy approached me at the crosswalk from his car, and he was like, psst, psst.
When you hear psst, psst, who is that? Psst, psst. That's a Jamaican, right? Psst, psst. All right, go ahead, Danny.
And I ignored him. I didn't acknowledge him or anything. And I walked to the Wawa from a different route to avoid him. And he followed me to the Wawa and parked up right beside where I was sitting and was asking me if I was going to Riverside, which is the street that I live on, and he was asking me if I wanted to ride, and I was like, no, I'm waiting for my mom. And yeah.
What happened when you told him you're waiting for your mom?
He started to look kind of panicked, and he just drove away.
And how did you feel in that moment?
I was kind of scared that he was going to do something to me.
Right, exactly. So I hope that others on Zoom heard what Dania shared. I hope you did. And let me ask, for the young people here, and even people on Zoom, females, if what happened to Sister Greenland or the lady in that video happened to you, how would you feel? I heard uncomfortable. Okay, right?
Okay, so I have a quick share. Usually it is uncomfortable for me, but as Andre said, growing up in the islands, I'm from Jamaica, so it was like the norm that I'm used to. So this is what usually, after a while, this is what I usually ended up doing, because I know that some people are, scrupulous and stuff. And I know they get all vulgar and aggressive if you like turn them down or shut them down there. It became the norm for me to like smile or acknowledge or something, just because I didn't want them to get all vulgar with me. But then in the same breath, I feel like when I'm smiling, when I'm saying hi, good evening to you, I am leading them on. So I'm not really sure of the right way to go about things, but I'm uncomfortable, but at the same time, I don't want to put myself at risk by, I've seen my friends like roll their eyes or turn them down, and they seem to want to jump at you. So, yeah.
Right. So we're seeing that behavior, while it's normalized in certain cultures, it makes us feel uncomfortable. But sometimes, because of cultural beliefs, we grow to accept what is uncomfortable. And you know what happens? Because we allow ourselves, male or female, to become comfortable with what's uncomfortable, we open the door for other incidents of uncomfortableness to happen to us. Okay? So that is why we have to be aware that this behavior is not okay. It's not. As much as we're cultured that way, it doesn't make it right, because what it does, it breaks down the boundary within us, and we become open to other violations, believe it or not. It does. We, male or female, should be able to walk on the street and feel safe. And like what happened to Daniel, I said to her, when she said the guy said, psst, psst, I said to her, was he a Jamaican? She said, yes, Mom, he was a Jamaican. Right? She's 12 years old. 12 years old. So again, you see how this behavior can be generalized, right? What if she had to walk home on Riverside all by herself, and I wasn't home because I was running late to pick her up? She was in Walmart recently, and what happened in Walmart, Daniel? In Walmart. What happened in Walmart?
I was walking past the aisles to look for something, and there was this guy who was just looking at me very, like sexually, and he was just looking me up and down, like just made me very uncomfortable. And
right. Now, if at her age, I'm going to tell her, it's okay, just ignore it, it's all right. She's going to grow to accept that guys can do that to her and do even more. And it's the same thing for our boys. We have to teach our children that even though it happened to you, it's not okay. Right? Go ahead, sister.
So, I don't know if interestingly enough is the right phrasing, but this kind of is something that I like dealt with my whole life, sad to say. And I've dealt with it from people my own age as well as older. Like, I remember first grade. It was my first experience with it from another first grader. And then it just kind of escalates to the point where, like you said, I'm kind of like desensitized to it. And you kind of have to have like your, peripherals up, and you just kind of just like walk like to the point where like kind of how the person in the video was, like she just was not engaging at all. But that also gives bad responses as well. Like you get bad reactions when you literally do not respond. I've had that happen to me as well. And then is when you do speak back, that also can give you bad responses. And I've had points in times where I've given my a fake number out just so they can leave me alone. I've had points in time where like I would I have a fake name on deck, so they would just already, like, as soon as they see me, I'm like, I give them my fake name. I have a group of friends, we all have fake names. I call them by their fake name. Like, we all, like, you won't know who I am. And it's like, you already have like your defenses up. Where are you going? I always have a lie. Like, I'm never telling them exactly where I'm going or where I'm coming from and things like that. And unfortunately, we live in a society where you have to kind of have these things already prepared whenever you're going outside.
Right.
Right.
So now I'm echoing.
Sister Dawn?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Chad here. I just wanted to thank the ladies for sharing these experiences, and they're heartbreaking to hear. I think as parents of sons, I think it's important for us to establish what the expected approach, the Christian approach of a man to I guess our relationships, the male relationship to female should be, in terms of what's I mean, in outside of the culture, in terms of what should be expected, what young ladies should expect from us men in terms of engagement. And I would, and I think it's important to, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's important to be respectful, to be polite, but to ensure at all times that the women in our presence are as comfortable as possible. And nowadays it's important to really try to, some cultures they hug and even someone who you don't know. And I think it's important to try to minimize or to, any physical, contact as much as possible, and try to be try to respect the space of women as much as possible, at school, in the workplace, in public, etc. I mean, how does that sound? Is that the expectation? Should that be the expectation of females now, of men for women to feel respected for their space to be respected at all times?
That's exactly where I was going. Why am I echoing, Brother Lewis? All right, thank you. Oh, okay. So that's exactly where I was going to go with this conversation, Brother Chad. So thank you for going there. It's so important that we are teaching both gender, healthy relationship, and healthy interaction patterns. Because most time the burden is on women, right? To keep ourselves safe, to do the right thing, to say the right thing. And we are pressured to respond a certain way because we don't want a certain response, like what happened with Brother and Sister Greenland, right? So we probably, as Sister Tiana said, we give out a fake number or we give a fake smile, which it reinforces the behavior, but we're just trying to do self-preservation in the moment, right? But if we, and even with Sister Tiana and Brother Kasai, right, in that situation. However, if we are teaching our children, male, female, if we're teaching them healthy interaction patterns and healthy boundaries, then we would have less of this to deal with, right? And of course, we can't control the world because not everyone is in church or in the homes being taught these boundary enforcement and maintenance principles, but at least within ourselves, we learning in our homes and in our church, we'll see the red flag when something isn't right, and we'll be able to be more proactive, because we're going to look at some consequences of violation. And you find that a lot of grooming goes on. We know what grooming is, right? Grooming starts very almost what you call innocently would seem, right? And if we're not teaching our children even how to identify grooming patterns, then it makes them vulnerable to predators and offenders. Go ahead, sis.
Sister Dawn, so some women like the attention. And so it makes it so much harder for those of us who don't want any attention. But I'm still not clear. So if a young man or a man for that matter sees a woman and he likes her and really want to get to know her, so what does he do?
What did Brother Greenland do?
So I was offended when, so let me be honest. I gave him a lot of attitude when, Let me back up. So because we were in a church setting, it wasn't so bad. He was teaching Sabbath school class, and I was responding to his questions. He got attracted to the intellect. So it wasn't like I was walking on the street and this guy, looking at me, looking me up and down. So at church, I saw him and that was it. But when I got home, we didn't have any contact or anything until he got my number from a friend. So then he called, and I was giving him a whole lot of attitude because I was kind of fed up with the male species. Long story. Not that I was thinking of the female leader, but yeah, because I was tired of these guys from church calling me, telling me a lot of sweet nonsense. And some of them married, and it's a whole long story. So I was kind of over it. So I was giving him a lot of attitude, and he had to kind of win that trust. But so in a setting now, let's say at school, where like for the girls on campus, like Tiana was sharing when she was at school, the guys are always calling to her. But what if it's a potential spouse?
So Sister Greenland, I didn't hear you say Brother Greenland was disrespectful to you in his approach. You were fed up with what was going on, and so you projected onto him. But I didn't hear you say it was like, nice girl, pretty girl,
Somebody said pretty girl. Is that a compliment or is that disrespect?
It depends on where and how. Because remember, in terms
depends
of
on who. 'Cause
yeah,
what if it's
yeah.
a cute guy and I.
No.
Yeah, I think it depends on who. Because if I look at you and you don't look like you're in my class, my caliber, I'm like, how dare you? But if it's a guy who I look at him and he looks kind of cute and whatever. Then I might take it as a compliment. So, I mean, what do we teach our girls? What if you're chasing away the guy that could be, a good husband?
Again, it's all about respect. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Brother Chad. I think you want to say something, Brother Chad. So mute until I get to you.
No, I just want to say it's also important when we have someone's number, right? That if a friend asks for the number of a friend, that we at least ask the friend for permission to give that number, right? Because I can't just give out. I mean, everything is good, sister and brother Green, but I mean, I think overall it's a good rule to not give out someone's number unless you have the permission of the person to give out the number, right?
Yeah, that's true, Brother Chad. So again, even in terms of, but whatever. However, Sister Greenland, there's a difference between saying to someone after you get to know them or whatever, or even on the first, I see you as a very caring, kind, respectful, and beautiful person. Can we spend some time talking to each other? Something like that, whatever, right? As against pretty girl, good-looking girl, blue frock or something like that. That's disrespectful, right?
That's the Jamaican street grooming.
Right, yeah, right. There are respectable approaches to winning or weaning or courting or getting someone's attention. There are respectful approaches, and there is no way around that. If I like Brother Lewis, I'm going to say, Brother Lewis.
Tell him.
Brother Lewis, I really admire your involvement in church and your commitment to every single department in church. I think you would make a very good husband.
That's groovy.
Right.
But and guess what? He may tell me no. But because I have Brother Chad, but because I have healthy boundaries within myself, I'm going to respect his no. Again, we see the problem is when the ladies or the male says no, we get disrespectful. We go ballistic. That is unhealthy boundaries. Steph, you want to say something? Go ahead, Steph.
1 second. Chad, you and your wife have your devices on and it's giving a feedback, so both of you guys can have your devices on at the same time.
Echo. There's an echo.
For real.
All right, Steph.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is that, definitely as a teenager, I was definitely not looking for somebody. And I remember when I was in the islands and I was visiting, and me and my friends, we were, just walking on the sidewalk. And I was the older teen in the area and the group at the time. So just growing up, I would have like how parents would have the younger ones like sit, walk in the side, and you'd stay on the outside of the sidewalk while you're walking on the road. So I was on the outside, and like out of nowhere, like a car drove by, and someone like literally stuck their hand out and grabbed my boob. Ooh. Yeah, and it was like it happened so fast. I wasn't even like did this even happen? Like no one like even realized, and I was like yo, like it was just crazy. So guys, be careful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Steph. And in our previous boundaries presentation, we talked about other examples that we've experienced even in the church. So it's in the families, it's in the community, it's in the churches, right? Thank you for sharing that, Steph. And it all goes back to people not having healthy boundaries within themselves. And that is why we have to be very mindful and respectful of creating healthy boundaries within ourselves and teaching that to our children or our cousins, nieces, nephews, whatnot. Let's look at the consequences of unhealthy boundaries or boundary violations.
What's your time?
Chad. Okay, go ahead. Sister Riddle, is it you too? You want to say something, Sister Riddle?
No, I was just saying, what's your time?
Watch my time, exactly. I have 10 minutes, right? Is it 10? All right. Chad, you wanted to say something? Quickly? No? All right, let's go. All right, save your thought then, Chad. Let's go and share it after this slide. Consequences of sexual boundary violation. These are so important. And you hear me talk about the ACEs. The ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. I want to tell you something. In my job right now, 90% of the clients that I served were women and even men who were violated in childhood. They were raped, sexually molested, whatever. And now they end up with all kinds of mental symptoms, conditions, issues. So it's so important that we are cognizant that these incidents have long-term effects, like lifelong effects. What are some of the consequences? Feelings of confusion. When we are violated, especially for us, in our generation and way back, because we didn't talk about it, right? So when it happened to you, you never know what happened to you. You're confused, right? You're confused. Because it was tabooed. Exactly. Thank you. You're a very good, nice person, Brother Lewis. All right. Yeah, it was tabooed. Am I harassing you, Brother Lewis? Yeah, it was tabooed. Yeah. Feelings of guilt and shame. And Sister Lily, you shared in our last presentation of how when you tried to talk about your situation, you were left feeling shamed, right? Yeah. And there's so many people who carry this feeling of guilt and shame because, again, it was tabooed. And it's a secret. We're not allowed to talk about it. Because sometimes we blame the victim, too. So there's guilt and shame. Identity crisis issues. And time is against me, but I wanted to share a video of Donnie McClurkin, right? And he talked about how he was violated as a little boy or a teenager by a male. So it's not just male violating females or females violating males. It's also the same-sex issue going on. Females violating females and males violating males. Brother Lewis. We have a part 3? Yeah, we could have a part 3, for real, right? So we're going to have a part 3 because I'm going to stop here on this slide today because I want feedback in terms of consequences. You're right, Brother Lewis. All in favor say aye, part 3. All right. Aye. It's carried. Good. So, identity crisis. Let's talk about that. What happens? What do you see happens in society when males are violated by males and females are violated by females? What happens? Share. Yeah. Become confused. Dania, you want to share? Go ahead, Dania. The microphone. Where's the mic? Here's the mic. All right.
I was gonna say I've seen cases where they hate the opposite sex or they hate the same sex, something of that sort.
You're right. Yes, Brother Kasai. Thanks. Danny?
There are some instances where they question their sexuality and end up committing suicide or getting into a very depressive state.
Yes. So either we end up having unresolved issues and start, hate everybody, project. And we have identity crisis where we're confused. Am I heterosexual? Am I homosexual? Am I bisexual? Am I LGBTQ plus? Right? It happens. I have a friend, a very close friend, a very wonderful young man. And he, at this point, has never formed a healthy relationship with a female because he was violated by a male when he was a young boy. I know, right? Yeah. So it has long-term consequences. And Dania is right in that people end up being so confused and so troubled, don't understand who they are. And they end up becoming depressed, anxious, having suicidal thoughts, attempted suicide, or completed suicides. Changes in the body's physiology. What research has shown is that, especially when we were younger as a child, or even teenagers, if we're sexually violated, the body starts producing sexual hormones before it should. And guess what happened? What happened? We become hypersexual or hyposexual. So what that means, you see, when we're growing up in Jamaica, and we see the girl in the community, and we say, oh, she bad, oh, she's so bad. She bad. She money. And it's everywhere, in the entire world. But in Jamaica, we would say, oh, she's so money. Oh, she's so, or we say, oh, the boy is so galley. Those, we say that, right? A lot of times, it's because these people were violated as a child. And what happened is that it changed the body's physiology. So before the prefrontal cortex is developed so we can have rational thinking and we can practice impulse control, before that's developed, the sexual hormone gone through the gate. And there's nothing to control it. Yeah, exactly. We become Lego bees sexually. So a lot of time it's a consequence of being violated. But because we don't talk about it, guess what we do? We blame the victim and the victim suffers. And the perpetrator walk free and move on to somebody else. Yeah. That's something to keep in mind. So when we see people, being so hyper or hypo now is where people sometimes will develop a aversive reaction to things like touch or even sexual relationships within the right context. And so they have no impetus. I would say appetite, but that's not the right word in this context. They have no desire for any kind of sexual connection, even in the right context of marriage. And I deal with that in my job right now. Like I had a client this week and she's married with kids and she told me, I have no desire to be with my husband. And I said to her, let's talk about your childhood. And she was raped more than one time. She was violated over and over. And what happens to these people is that touch feels dangerous. Touch becomes a dangerous thing because the body now associates touch with their trauma. Every time she's touched by her husband, guess what happened? Her body's go, yeah, thank you. It triggers, her body go right back. So I could give an entire presentation just on this. Go ahead, Brother Kasai. 2 minutes leave? A lie. All right. Then we have spiritual wrestling because, we're struggling with our sexuality and our relationship with God and we blame ourselves. PTSD, depression, anxiety, relationship issues where we can't function well in relationship because either we become too clingy and, very clingy, or we become very detached. So all of these are some, not all the consequences. So we're going to have a part 3 where we'll continue to talk about how we can, I know the question now is, so how do I handle if this has happened to me or if it's happening to me? So that's why I say to you, if you need to, just send me a text message or call me or reach out to somebody that you trust and talk about it and seek support, okay? Remember, young people, 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. Let no man, woman, boy, or girl despise thy youth. Be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. Boundaries are important to keep us safe and healthy and spiritually connected to God and to each other. So go forward, maintaining your boundaries in Jesus' name. Thank you all.